All right, everyone, how y'all doing today? Hope you're having a lovely day too. We are back, back for another discussion video. We're gonna talk about when should we expect the next Xenoblade game? Yes. Xenoblade Chronicles, one of my favorite IPs of all time, one of my favorite video game series of all time. We are sort of due for a new Xenoblade, funnily enough. If y'all did not know how the Xenoblade timeline of games goes, is actually very consistent, very easy to digest. So Monolith Soft, one of Nintendo's biggest studios under their belt, they make not only the Xenoblade Chronicles games, but they also helped out with the Zelda team. They also help out with the Mario Kart team. They also helped out working on Animal Crossing, Splatoon. They work on a lot of stuff, branching all the way back to the GameCube era, by the way. I think they were formerly acquired by Nintendo around the Wii days, I want to say. But they've been helping out with Nintendo forever and only gotten even like more entrenched with like Nintendo's as like one of their support studios, right? But if I remember correctly, Monolith Soft has 3 teams. They have the RPG team that focuses solely on Xenoblade. There is an R&D team that was kind of recently established just for like, you know, enhancing their internal tools. There is the support team, which usually helps other studios like Inazuma and Nintendo EBD with different assets and world generation and all that. And that's how you see the random bits like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, down here, whatever it is. Yeah, Breath of the Wild, Splatoon, Mario Kart World. Anyways, when should we expect the next Xenoblade? Xenoblade, funnily enough, has one of the most like almost predictable timelines of all time. So Xenoblade Chronicles came out 2010 back in Japan, June 10th, 2010. And then Xenoblade Chronicles X infamously has one of the worst goddamn productions of all time. Released in 2015 near the tail end of the Wii U. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is kind of the odd one out. Most of the team back then when Monolith was producing this game was working on Breath of the Wild. So Xenoblade Chronicles 2 launched in a very odd state and is still kind of a peculiar title. If you play it, you know. It released December 1st, 2017. So 2 years after X, but 7 years after the original. Honestly, this is like the only game in the series where the development timelines are not exact to what is standard. Let's skip over Torna because that's that expansion. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3 released July 2022. So 5 years after the second game and what, 12 years after the first? But you'll notice there's actually a lot more Xenoblade than just the, you know, the main IPs. Because Xenoblade Chronicles X, not really a spin-off, not really a core entry. It's like its own thing. And we got Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which was a remaster of the original, also in 2020. So 3 years after 2 years before 3, and just last year we had Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, again a remaster of X, released on March 20th, 2025. Again, so 3 years after the last main one, and I'm assuming 2 years before the next one. Besides the gap between 1 and 2, which I can excuse because Xenoblade Chronicles X is a Wii U title, and we all know the Wii U games, Wii U had an interesting run, let's just say that for the least, right? So let's just say our ballpark guesstimate range for our new Xenoblade Chronicles game is about 5 years. So 5 years between 2 and 3, maybe 5 years between 3 and 4. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 came out in 2022. That'll mean our guesstimate range is gonna be 2027, which, hey, honestly, if you look at it that way, isn't all too bad. Especially since Xenoblade Chronicles X, really great game, came out last year and got a Switch 2 edition, you know, just the other month, which the Switch 2 edition is a little questionable. It's a little questionable, but 60 FPS, hey, golden, right? So there are a couple of questions with the next Xenoblade Chronicles game. Will it even be called Xenoblade Chronicles? And will it even be a numbered entry? So I'm gonna refrain as much as possible from spoilers, right? We're gonna try to keep this video as spoilers free as I can, but there's probably gonna be a segment where I will need to address something, so there will be a spoiler warning for that. Since Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and especially this game right here, Future Redeemed, which was an expansion to 3, that concluded the main story arc, stretching the first 3 numbered titles. And with the ending of that game, again, I'm not gonna say what it is, but we could assume that it's a brand new world, and what we're gonna be visiting in Xenoblade Chronicles 4 is gonna be something brand new, something kind of like a clean start. essentially, to the series. So will the next game even be called for, or will it have a subtitle? Because won't be surprised if it's just Xenoblade subtitled something, 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 something. I think calling it 4 would probably be a bad idea, because a lot of people do get confused with Final Fantasy, right? Final Fantasy always numbered, but like if you want to enter the series, which one do you start? Well, the answer is that it doesn't really matter. Realistically, right? You can hop in at any point. Same thing with Persona, right? You can realistically hop in at any point, but probably having it subtitled might be simpler, because Xenoblade, even though the actual stories are self-contained, there is a grander story arc happening behind the scenes within every entry that culminates to Future Redeemed, right? So I guess if it were for me, I would just drop the numbering from this point on, unless the new story arc that will span with a couple games, probably, who knows, maybe that deserves its own naming scheme. That's just me. So Xenoblade Chronicles 4, I am assuming that is dropping next year. We might get a trailer for it this September whenever a Nintendo Direct happens, because I wouldn't be shocked if, hey, for the Nintendo Switch 2, we want to headline a Xenoblade Chronicles game, have it be as best as it can be. I remember for the Nintendo Switch launch event, not launch event, but that major special presentation back in January of 2016, 2017, whenever they showed off Mario Odyssey, 1-2 Switch, Breath of the Wild. They also showed Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It was dropping the same year, December. Now, we're not gonna have a new Xenoblade Chronicles for the Switch 2's first year. We did the Switch 2 edition for X, but like didn't really add anything. It was just more like a enhanced version of it. But yeah, no, Xenoblade Chronicles 4 will miss year 1. That's okay. It can be the showstopper for year 2, you know what I'm saying, right? Now, since we're in the Switch 2 generation, things are gonna get a little complicated for 2 reasons. 1, the existence of Switch 2 editions, and 2, Monolith is kind of running out of games to have as their stopgap game. You see a lot of Switch games. Monolith is popping out so many Switch games. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was their first Xenoblade entry on the Switch system. And then we have Torna, which was a DLC. Then you see Xenoblade Chronicles 1, Definitive Edition. This was an HD remaster. That was their stopgap game between 2 and 3. Was our stopgap game this time around? Well, it was actually Xenoblade Chronicles X. We had it 3 years after Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now, here's an issue. Xenoblade 4 comes out. Will it be the stopgap game for that time around? Because you're not gonna remaster 2. You're not gonna remaster 2. And like, Monolith doesn't really own the rights for, you know, Baten Kaitos, which already has a remaster on the Nintendo Switch. There are some picks here. Don't worry, I will get to them. But you know, Monolith doesn't really have or own the IPs to some of their older titles. There's a lot of history with that. So that's another question for another day. But the existence of Switch 2 editions kind of serve as a unique way for them to not really depend on definitive editions anymore, especially since I guess this is kind of convenient timing. They kind of ran out of games for those. So next year, even though I am expecting Xenoblade Chronicles 4 or whatever it's going to be called, it is also going to be the 10th anniversary of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And what did Monolith do to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Xenoblade Chronicles 1? They released a definitive edition, an HD remaster. So is it in the cards for Monolith to release a Switch 2 edition for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to celebrate its 10th anniversary? Maybe, you know, actually make the game look good, you know, 1080p, hopefully 4K and 60 FPS, and I'll be very happy and I'll replay the game for the 20th time. Yes. Could they add a lot more story stuff to bridge the gap between the events following 2 into 3, right? They could do that. I don't know how interesting it will be, but I would like to see the gang grow up and see what happened between the events 2 and 3. I don't know. This is an interesting time. This is a very interesting time because the definitive edition, or the Switch 2 edition rather, of 2 could be released at any moment. It could come out this year. It could come out next year. I feel like the odds of it coming out next year, even though it is the 10th anniversary, will mostly stem on if Monolith needs more time with 4. Maybe instead of taking 5 years to make the game, it's gonna be 6 years because the scope of the game demands for it. Maybe this one's gonna be absolutely incredible. Maybe there's gonna be like 30 hours of cutscenes. Do not look at how long the cutscenes are for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, you will be scared. But no, like, especially with the rumors of the Zelda title for this year, I wonder how many people are from Monolith are working on that game. There are rumors of the Zelda game for this year that are kind of wild, which again, that's gonna be its own video, to be honest, because of that game is kind of crazy. I won't say what it is here, but like that game is gonna be gnarly. There is an elephant in the room. So if Xenoblade Chronicles 4 releases in 2028, let's say, and Xenoblade 2, comes out next year for its, Switch 2 version, there is a giant Xenosaga elephant in the room. Here's a spoiler for both Xenoblade Chronicles X and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed. The next Xenoblade Chronicles entry could very much just be either X2 or Xenosaga Episode 4, or a continuation or a spiritual successor continuation of Xenosaga. And I say this because of the ghosts. The ghosts that you fight in X Definitive Edition Chapter 13, and all of the Xenosaga references within Future Redeemed. They're building up to something, and it's gonna be very awkward for like 70 to 80% of the fan base to understand what the heck is going on if most of them have no access to the Xenosaga games. Of course, you can emulate them, right? Congrats, 90% of them are not doing them. 90% of people are not doing that. They gotta make it so that you can access Xenosaga 1, 2, and 3 on modern system. Now, Bandai and Nintendo have, a good relationship going up, and so much so that in Future Redeemed, the actual credits of the game include Bandai as a partner. So they're aware of this, they're doing something together. And I wonder, maybe not next year, but maybe even this year, instead of a Xenoblade Chronicles 4 trailer, we get like the release or, the tease of Xenosaga 1, 2, and 3 remastered, or maybe a remake made by Monolith. That'll go crazy. I'm not sure if Bandai would be willing to do the remake, but they're more than willing to at least license out the characters for Monolith to use. So all I'm saying is that like Xenosaga is like the biggest elephant in the room. They gotta address it somehow. I hope those games are accessible in a modern platform. So life works in mysterious ways. So while I was editing the video, Gmode announces Xenosaga Pied Piper coming to the Nintendo Switch and PC, which is insane because Pied Piper, if you didn't know, was a lost media title in the Xenosaga series. I believe it was a mobile-only game back in 2004, and this is before app stores were really a thing, so it was like a actual port for a mobile device back in 2004. And over the course of time, those services went down and effectively became lost media. Gmode, which is I believe a very, very small, almost indie tier company, reached out to Bandai Namco, and they're porting Xenosaga Pied Piper not only to PC but also Nintendo Switch, which is absolutely absurd. So Pied Piper, if I remember correctly, is a prequel to Xenosaga. I never played Xenosaga nor Pied Piper, but I'm pretty sure it's a prequel, and I think it focuses on one of the main characters. That's not Cosmos. I forgot the name, but yeah, this is like absolutely absurd. Like, what's gonna happen? Like, the fact that our first Xenosaga entry on the Nintendo Switch is Pied Piper of all games. But yeah, it seems to be like a very one-to-one port. I don't even think it's gonna be localized. So yeah, it's gonna be on the eShop, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be JP only. We can still download it and play it, but it's not gonna be, translated and localized to English. Not that I believe. Maybe if like enough people, buy it, maybe they'll put resources into localizing the game. But the fact that this is even happening to begin with is actually absurd. I'm just bewildered. By the way, like, if you want to play in English, buy it on Steam, because odds are going to be really, really, really high that people are just going to make a fan translation patch mod for the game, pretty much. So if you want to play in English, buy it on Steam. Now, this tells me that, like, dog, the dominoes, the wheels are starting to turn for real. I am now like 100%. Oh yeah, we are going with Xenosaga 1, 2, and 3 ports now. If the first entry, not even the first entry, if the prequel for Xenosaga is now being released for the first time in ever, right? On modern consoles. Dog, Xenosaga 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. It's all up to time. It's all up to time. I mean, I'm buying it. I mean, you gotta support Xeno, right? Especially buying Piper of all the games. That will show Bandai, yes, interest is there. Please port 1, 2, and 3 on modern consoles, right? What a wild Xeno, dude. The Xeno series, dog, it never ceases to surprise me. I'm just bewildered. All right, back to the video. We do have a lot of games potentially coming up. We just don't know what's gonna come first, when they're gonna come out, and how they're gonna implement it. Because I feel like Xenosaga 1, 2, and 3, I feel like they're guaranteed. I feel like we're going to get them in some form or manner. If not this year, maybe next year. And Xenoblade Chronicles 4 or X2 or whatever it's gonna be called will be shown this year, coming out next year. If not, then 2028. But I don't think we're gonna have to wait that long for Xenoblade. Xenoblade has always been one of those games where, like, one of those series where you can always rely a new Xenoblade happening every 2.5 years, right? Whether it's a remaster or a new release, right? Or even a DLC expansion, right? There's always something happening in Xeno. So there's that. Like, you never know. Like, look, dude, it's X Switch 2 edition just gets shadow dropped. That's it. It just gets shadow dropped. That's the life of a Xenoblade fan. You never know when something's gonna drop. All that's guaranteed is that something will drop. You just never know. So, okay, that's pretty much all I really wanted to cover, to be perfectly honest. New Xenoblade game, you're gonna get it probably next year. Xenosaga, I am hoping comes out, considering all of the red flags surrounding both X Definitive Edition and Future Redeemed. Xenogears, never happening. Never happening. Genuinely never happening. Go ask the Square Enix how they're doing. I lost faith about, dude, they didn't even put Xenogears. Monolith doesn't even put Xenogears on their website. Yeah, no, it's over. It's never been more over. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Hopefully we get a new Xenoblade soon, because I love this IP and I need more games, you know? It's so peak. All right, y'all. Comment down below what you are excited to see Monolith work on next, whether it be Zelda, Mario, apparently Splatoon. They're all working on Splatoon. I wonder if they're working on Raiders. They probably are working on Raiders. Interesting. All right, y'all. Take care of yourselves. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye now.